All right, guys, today we have a review for everything we've learned about capital budgeting. And this is difficult. This is a long one. Okay, so to be nice, I am creating this video to do the review with you. I'm going to walk through everything you need to do to be successful. However, you are expected to do this by yourself on the the project version of this tomorrow. So I would strongly suggest you do this first kind of by yourself, then go back, watch the video and correct yourself. Um, Otherwise, you probably won't get as much from this. You probably won't remember as much or be able to do it on your own tomorrow on the project. So I would suggest trying to do it yourself, then watch the video. It's up to you though. That's why I'm including the video. So here we go. All right. So I have this Project A, and we start off by trying to figure out what's the WACC. So we've calculated a few things, or at least we've been provided some information, such as how much debt do we have, how much is the preferred stock, how much common stock, what's the cost of that debt. We've got the preferred dividend, the flotation cost, everything. We've got to be able to calculate the WACC. Now there are some intermediate calculations we're going to do here first, and then we're going to get the WACC. We've done this before. This is not new, but it's been a few days, I know. So here we go. First, we're going to calculate the cost of preferred stock. So the way this works is we're going to take the dividend, which is $8 for the preferred dividend. So I'm going to press 8, and then I'm going to divide it by, and then we've got a couple things going on here. Now, if I type this in wrong, I'm going to get the wrong answer. You got to make sure you do things in order. So I'm going to show you how you have to type this in to get this right. But it's going to be parentheses, and then it's going to be the price of the stock, 92, times parentheses, okay? And then I've got 1 minus the flotation cost in decimal, so 0.025, close two parentheses. Now, you're sitting here going, maybe, what in the world, right? How did we get to that point? So I'm going to remind you how the formula works. Okay, the formula is the dividend divided by, and everything on bottom is then cost of the dividend times parentheses 1 minus the flotation cost. And so in order to calculate that correctly on Excel, that's what I had to do. But there's nothing wrong with doing this the old school way with a calculator. So I'm going to show you this again, this time with the calculator. When we did this with the calculator, we first did 1 minus 0.025. That's 0.975. Then we multiplied by the price of the preferred stock. So the preferred stock was $92. So we multiply by 92. And that's 89.7. And then we took the preferred dividend, which is 8, divided by the 89.7. And that gave me the same answer. So 0.89186. So you can see these two numbers here are the same. Now this is not in percentage. Okay, so I'm going to minimize. I'm going to turn this into percentage. I'm going to show you how you can do that. What I got to do is I got to press this percent button up here at the top, and it changes it to percent. So perfect. There's the cost of preferred stock. Now let's do common stock. I'm going to do this the same way. I'm going to do it first in Excel, and then I'll show you how to do it by hand because that's the way we practiced. So I'm going to press equal. And for this formula, it's the dividend divided by the price, and then we add after that the growth rate. So dividend, which is $4 for common stock, divided by the price of the stock, which is 120, as it says right here, and the expected growth rate, so we're going to press plus, and then the growth rate is 3.1, so we're going to do 0.031. And that again give me a decimal that I need to change into percent. Okay, so let's say you want to do this by hand like we did before. That's fine. It was the common stock dividend. So 4 divided by the price, which is 120. And then we have to add the growth rate, which was 3.1. So we're going to add 0.031. And that is this. So we move the decimal over twice. 1, 2, 6.43. There it is. Okay, now we can calculate the WACC. All right, so calculate the WACC. Well, that's a long formula, trust me. So I'm going to remind you of how this works. We're going to press equal, and then it's the weight of debt. So that would be 0.64 because it says 64% debt, times the rate of debt. So the cost of debt. So cost of debt is 9%. So 0.09 times 1 minus, and this is the taxes. Tax rate is 35%. So 0.35. Parentheses. That's the first section. Plus, now the second section. The second section is the cost of preferred stock times the weight of it. So times the weight first. It's 5%, not 0.5, that's 0.05. Times, and now we're going to put in the cost of preferred stock, and that comes from this first box here. So I'm going to click on that box. Close parentheses, plus the weight of common stock, which is 0.31. We'll put 0.31 times the cost of common stock, which is this box. Click that. Close parentheses. Enter. And now we just got to change this into a percent. Cool. All right. Everything looks good here. And then we keep moving. So let's go ahead and look at the next section. All right, so Project A will require the company to spend $87,000 on equipment. Now that's already here. We have negative $87,000 planned for equipment. They expect cash inflows of $25,000 for the first 3 years. This equals $25,000 for the first year. It's going to equal the same thing the second year, and the same thing the third year. In year 4, the company expects cash flows to decrease by 20%. All right, so there's 2 ways we can do this. First way we can do this is we can say, all right, if we're losing 20%, we're only keeping 80%. So we could press equals 25,000 times 0.8. That's 80%. Or if you don't like that, there's another way. We could say this equals 25,000 times 20%. Okay, but that's the losing part, the minus 20%. So we actually have to do 25,000 minus that. That's 20,000. I like the first way better. All right, next year, year 5, the company expects cash flows to decrease by 30%. So we would say this equals this times, and since we're losing 30, we are keeping 70, so 0.7. Again, if you prefer, you can say equals 20,000 and then minus 20,000 times the 0.30% or the 30%. Okay, either way, that's what we get. And now we've got to start projecting how this is going to go. Like how good is our project based on its NPV, its IRR, the payback period, things like that. So we're going to finish this table because we're going to need it here for the payback period. Let's go ahead and do that. It's easy to finish this. I do want to remind you that the cumulative cash flow method that we are doing right now does not account for the fact that future cash is not worth as much tomorrow as it is today. So this is an outdated method, and we honestly shouldn't shouldn't do it like this. If you ever take an accounting course in college, they will not do it exactly like this. All right, so equals this plus this. That's last year's, what was left, plus what we got this year. Now we are still at negative 62,000 in cash. Okay, next year we start off with negative 62,000, but we're adding the 25,000. Good to go. Next, start with last year's. We add in this year's gain, still negative cash. Again, last year plus this year's gain. All right, we're finally at a positive cash. And then equals last year's plus this year's gain. Now, just remember, $22,000 is not what we will actually make off this project, because this does not account for the fact that cash in the future is not worth as much as it is today. All right, let's move on though. So let's now calculate the NPV. So we're going to press equal, and we're going to press NPV. This is the shorter way to do it. If you want to go back, you can watch how we did that in the NPV videos for the NPV assignment. But what we have to do is we have to find the discount first, the rate. I'm going to go up here, click on the rate, which is the WACC. We're going to press comma. And then what we're going to do is we're going to highlight this first row from year 1 through year 5. We're not going to include that first year because that first year is already present. Remember, we're trying to turn everything into present values. We're going to press parentheses. Okay, and then what we have to do is we have to add in that first value. Okay, so all the future values have now been moved to present, and then we add in the present. And so we actually are going to make $5,701.48 in cash based on present value. Okay, this next one's real easy. The internal rate of return, you press equals IRR parentheses, and then you highlight the entire row. End parentheses, boom. Remember, in order for a project to be worth it, this number has to be higher than this number. The internal rate of return has to be higher than the WACC, which it is. So that's good. We're making money. That makes sense. All right, so calculate the payback period. All right. So this is a long one. It's equals percent rank parentheses. And then what we do is we actually use this bottom row here. We're going to include this entire bottom row. And the question is, when does this bottom row get to 0? All right, so I'm going to put 0 because that's when I want to know, when does it become positive. 0 is where it turns into positive. And then we've got significant digits. I'm going to use 6. And that's just like how many decimals. How accurate do you want it to be? Okay. But we're not done, because if you press enter, you'll get 0.72, and that's not right, because that means that it's only been 0.72 of a year. But we know that it actually happens not between year 0 and 1, but we turn positive between year 3 and 4. So to finish this, I'm going to double click. I'm going to go to the end. I'm going to multiply by the year 5. Okay, so it takes 5 years to finish this project. We're multiplying by 5 years. So now it says it takes 3.6 years. So here's year 3, and then 0.6 of a year. Okay, so 60% of the year is over, and then we get to 0, and then from there on, we're positive. So it takes 3.6 years to pay back our money that we spent, the $87,000. All right, and that's it. Now we've completed this entire worksheet. If you have any questions, let me know. Either message me or schedule a Zoom with me. This is a difficult task tomorrow, and so make sure that you understand. All right, best of luck.